Hello everyone. If you are asked what would be one important factor when it gets developed and cultivated will help us to live good life and help lessen the suffering in our life, the answer to this question would be wisdom. Wisdom is the big word in Buddhism. Today let's get to know the meaning of wisdom and how can we develop and deepen our own wisdom so we can have a sustainable good life. So let's hang out with our great teacher, the Buddha. There are two terms that very close and usually get confusing when it comes to the meaning. First is intelligence and second one is wisdom. Before we get to the meaning of the wisdom in the eyes of the Buddha, let's clarify these two terms. Intelligent people seem to be a fast learner. They can acquire the new knowledge and apply them very quickly. But intelligent doesn't mean they have a wisdom. In the eyes of the Buddha, people with wisdom is the people who are able to deal with suffering in life in a nice manner. They know how to handle all situations in life in a skillful way. So when it comes to the word wisdom, we need to understand the big picture of why we need to cultivate wisdom, right? Because as we go through life, suffering and problem is unavoidable. It will be happening from time to time. And when suffering and problem happen, how can we deal with that? What about people with wisdom? These kind of people, in the eyes of the Buddha, they are the people who know how to live life in a noble way, and they know how to do things when life is facing challenges or difficulty in life. It's the people who know how to handle all situations in life in a wholesome way. They know what to do, they know when to do, and they know how to do things in a skillful way. Not necessarily that they may not have a lot of education, but they know how to live life happy. For example, there may be a man who happens to be a smart man. He may be the top of his class, graduate from the best school, but wherever he goes, he causes problems to others. He makes people around him feel uncomfortable. A lot of times, serious problems in the world happen because of highly intelligent people. He may cause problems to himself, cause problems to his wife, cause problems to his children. Comparing to another man who may have less education, but wherever he goes, he is loved by people around him. He knows how to control himself, how to behave himself in every situation that he is facing, making sure that he is not the one who causes problem to himself and to people around him. And the question is why we need to pay attention about wisdom. What's the benefit of us develop and deepening our own wisdom? Well, as we go through life from time to time, suffering, problem is inevitable. We will be facing problem, big or small, down the road. And when this problem and suffering happen, how do we deal with that? Without having the right wisdom, we cannot get out of the realm of suffering. And that is why the Buddha gives number one priority for everyone to make sure that you develop the right wisdom as you go through life. The common structure that the Buddha gives out for everyone who wants to live life happy, he usually instructs everyone to start off by understand the idea of precept or being a virtuous person. Do your best to avoid killing or harming oneself and others. Do your best to avoid stealing, avoid sexual misconduct, avoid false speech, and avoid intoxicants. So start from here. And once you're comfortable with that, you move on to the next step, which is mind development through the meditation practice. With observing precept, it helps you to meditate better. And when you meditate better, your mind becomes more calm, more clear, and more clean. With this quality of the mind, it is ready to develop higher wisdom. Ultimately, the higher wisdom deals with the Four Noble Truths. But in this case, we can look at the wisdom that helps us to see things the way they are, to deal with all suffering in life. You may be wondering how many levels of wisdom out there. In the eyes of Buddhism, at least 3 levels of wisdom that you can look at. The first level of wisdom is the wisdom that we can use in dealing with day-to-day problem and suffering in life. For example, during the time of the pandemic of the COVID, if you are the business owner, and then all of a sudden you don't have customers, you cannot make profits. If you have wisdom, you will do your best to make sure that you can go through this problem with yourself and your family in a wholesome manner. You will continue to maintain your integrity. They will not cheat on their customer. They will not do anything that's unethical to make sure that their business can survive. But for intelligent people, they maybe do something opposite. They will do whatever it takes just to make sure that their business can survive without thinking about ethical part. Just do whatever it takes to make sure that my business can survive. And the second level of wisdom is the wisdom that helps us to understand the reality, the nature of things, the nature of life. Now, you may be thinking of the three laws of characteristic, right? That all things change, everything is impermanent, everything falls into unsatisfactoriness, and also we have no authority to control everything in the outside world when everything doesn't go as we expect. So this level of wisdom will help us to understand the nature of things, and when the bad thing happen, we will not be too much sufferings. The highest level of wisdom is the wisdom that helps us to completely remove the mental impurity out of our mind. This kind of wisdom helps us to get rid of greed, hatred, and delusion completely from our own mind, just like what happened to those Arahant and the Buddha in the past. And what would be the characteristic of wisdom? At least I like you to think of two things. First, brightness. Second, liberation. Brightness refers to a full comprehension of the problem in front of you. And with that full comprehension, with that understanding, it helps us to liberate ourselves from the problem and suffering that we are having. Imagine yourself walk into the dark room and you see nothing in that room. It's so dark. And then you get scared because you don't know what's in that room. There may be the table, there may be the chair, there may be the snake on the floor, and then you got scared. But if you turn on the light, all of a sudden you see everything in that room. So you feel relieved that, oh, the chair is over there, the table is over there, and there's no snake on the floor. So you feel relieved, you are liberated. And that's the characteristic of wisdom in Buddhism. It helps us to be free and liberate from the suffering and problem that we have. Now, I think it's getting more interesting when it comes to the type of wisdom in Buddhism. The Buddha mentioned three kinds of wisdom. The first wisdom is called Sutamayā Paññā. It's a learned wisdom. Wisdom comes from learning, comes from talking, comes from reading books. From you don't know anything about accounting, then you start reading and talking about accounting to accountant. Then you know about accounting. You don't know about the programming, you start listening, you start reading the book about programming, you start talking to the programmer, then you know how to do programming. So this is called learned wisdom. And the second kind of wisdom is called Cintāmayā Paññā, which means the wisdom that comes from thinking. You analyze of what you learn and then it becomes your wisdom. So you may be reading book, you may be talking to a lot of people, and then you come back and reflect on what you learn, and then it becomes your wisdom. And the third kind of wisdom is called Bhāvanāmayā paññā. It's the wisdom that comes from meditation. In other words, this wisdom comes from seeing things the way they are. But we can only see things the way they are through the clear mind. It's the wisdom that comes from meditation. To me, this kind of wisdom is very interesting because I have not heard anyone in the world mention about this kind of wisdom before, only the Buddha himself. When we see something clearly, it helps us to understand those things fully. For example, if you look at the muddy water, you may not see what underneath the water. There may be frog, there may be crocodile, there may be fish, but we have no idea. But when the water is clear, we see everything underneath that water. We see shark, we see fish, we see turtle. We can see everything underneath that water. The water is so clear. And this kind of wisdom can only be developed through the meditation practice. This helps us to remove the ignorance from our mind, and then we can see things the way they really are. The Buddha did not just stop there. He did not just talk about the theoretical part. He also gave instruction of how to actually cultivate and deepen our wisdom. And this is the beauty of hanging out with the Buddha, right? He talked about 4 practical ways for us to develop and deepen our wisdom. First, he said, find the right teacher. Basically, find the right people to hang out with. If you find the good people to hang out with, that is the starting point for you to start acquiring a wisdom into your life. The book that you read, the people that you hang out with, these 2 things, they have a huge effect into your life. If you can find the right teacher, find the right people to hang out with, if you love to meditate, if you love to study Dhamma, you go hang out with those meditators, with those who love to study Dhamma, and then you will have access to the wisdom when you hang out with them. And the second thing the Buddha mentioned about listening to what he teaches you, basically whoever we talk to, whoever we hang out with, if they are the good people, they will share with us the good information. They will start talking about the Dhamma, talking about how to improve meditation. So the more you hang out with them, the more wisdom you gain from them. And your job is to wholeheartedly listen to them, empty your glass, take those input into yourself as much as possible. Then the third part is not just listen. You need to reflect on what you learn from them. After you read the book, after you talk to them, after you hang out with them, when you come home, you find time to digest those information and reflect to those wisdom critically. And the last one, most importantly, you need to put everything you learn into practice. It doesn't matter how many people you talk to, how many books you read, how many time you spend on reflecting on that. If you don't put everything into practice, you will have no direct experience about those Dhamma or the thing that you learn. So please make sure that you put everything you learn into practice. The Buddha would like us to have a direct experience of the Dhamma that you learn by yourself, not just believe what people said. Oh, meditation is good, or observing precept is good. But as long as you don't have the direct experience or practice meditation by yourself, you wouldn't have the true wisdom about the benefit of observing precept or the benefit of meditation. If you want to be happy, make sure that you apply what you learned today to develop and deepen your wisdom. I believe everyone wants to live life happy, so make sure you find time to reflect on what you learned today. Find ways to develop and deepen your wisdom as you go through life. Namo Buddhaya.